let's stay with you, Ben, because I want to switch the topic. You know, this morning, people did a lot about security, and this now is foremost on journalists' minds. You really have to have some training before you go out. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about how you think about it. When you go to a border town, which seems quite normal, you really have to be aware to know what the threats are. So when you're planning a trip, you know, talk a little bit about how you think about that and what your advice is to people who are going off to do this.
Certainly. Well, for instance, if I were going to Kilis today, I wouldn't stay overnight. I certainly wouldn't stay in the hotel that I stayed in those 2 summers, without any question. It is far too dicey a place. There's too many, frankly, spies around from all various groups, or people. I mean, you don't have to get kidnapped by ISIS to get kidnapped by ISIS. You get picked up by someone who sells you down the line, and that can happen on either side of the border. And but you also don't have to go to where the shooting is happening in order to cover the war. There are refugees coming out, and they know the war a lot better than you're going to know just by showing up. There are documents being smuggled out of Syria that are in Europe that you can go find the people that are working with those. There are jihadi problems in Syria emanating from Europe, so you can go to their home areas and sort of figure out what happened here before the war that created this flow into Syria in the first place. I've never been in any front lines. I've been within sight and sound of shelling, but never within range of actually getting hit by anything. And I have enormous respect for journalists who do take those risks, but I find that doing print, I don't have to.
And let's just reiterate that point. So I've often said this about, you don't have to go to the front lines, but you know that you can feel that rush of wind as all of your colleagues are moving that way. What do you say to yourself? How do you resist not getting excited and going off to do that?
Well, that summer of 2013, I was not a journalist. I was someone who was trying to learn about what journalism was. And so one of my goals during that summer was to meet journalists who were going in and have drinks with them at the bar and talk to them about their lives and their motivations, and whether after several years of doing this, they feel as though it's worth it and a life that they want to continue to live and a life that I would want to live. And during that period of time, I knew that what helped against that pull, which was, there were many times in which various Syrian fixers and friends would make offers to take me into Aleppo safely. And at the beginning of the time that I was there, it could have been done. Towards the end, absolutely not. But one of the reasons I didn't was I knew that I was not a good enough writer, a good enough reporter, a good enough photographer to get material that would be worth the risk for anyone, including me, but also including the Syrians who are in my car, who could be targeted because they're around me. Also, as a factor, I can kind of pass in southern Turkey and in Syria, Egypt, as long as I don't open my mouth. I don't know what it's like. Like, I haven't worked in hostile environments where I can't blend in with as long as my mouth's shut. So I can't understand that degree of risk because I've kind of had just the luxury of kind of being able to blend in.